Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, November 11th, and I'd like to make a couple of announcements. It's on Saturday. This Saturday is our Christmas festival. The parade is at 1:30. The festivities will be held at Fireman's Park. And it is November 11th, Veterans Day, and I just wanted to thank all veterans, those that served, those that are serving now, and those that will serve in the future for our freedom. And now it is the regular meeting of the Economic Development Commission, Tuesday, November 11th at 6 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will appraise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows we have a few people absent. Commissioner Voyer and Commissioner Heffley and Commissioner Kirpin are excused. We'll go on to 3. Regarding the meeting minutes, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Now I'll call citizen input. Please be advised per section 19.84 that information and comment will be received from the public. It is the policy of this municipality that public input be limited to 4-minute period per person with a time extension granted at the discretion of the chairperson. Be advised that there may be limited discussion of the information received, but no action will be taken under public comments. Comments that may be injurious to village personnel or other individuals will not be allowed. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to number 5, unfinished business. The first order of business is the dissolution of subcommittees, and we're going to need action on this.
I make a motion for the dissolution of subcommittees.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Thank you. Item B, EDC communication and database discussion. And on item B, I'm going to turn it over to our clerk, Maddie.
So as you can see in Casey's memo, she spoke with our village attorney and they both recommend that the EDC can't really create a shared database of information as that would violate the open meetings law, especially because there are only 7 of you. 4 of you constitutes a quorum, which means 2 of you constitute a negative quorum. So anytime 2 of you do business at all that's outside of a scheduled agendized meeting, considered a violation of the open meetings law. And our village attorney advised that creating any kind of shared database that you would work on simultaneously is collaboration and therefore would violate that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Didn't the memo say 3 because there are 7 of us, or is that something else that I'm not understanding?
Because there's 7 of you, 4 of you would be a quorum, which means 2 would be a negative quorum.
A negative quorum,
Yep.
okay. Okay, because in the table in there, it says 3, so that would be a positive quorum, or that's the limitation of getting together. I mean, it's a little confusing. Could you
That's-
bring up the memo on the, whoever has control of the screen, please?
think it's the last, goes to the last page. Here. 7, and then it says 3. I don't know what column that is. Maximum.
Without notice.
Steve, could you speak to that maybe a little bit more? I've always understood in what we've been doing in our office is doing the math where 4 of you is a quorum and 2 would be a negative quorum.
I can understand that. So we've got, if I remember correctly, and the village attorney has gone through this before, so if we can scroll back down, we got the voting members, a maximum and the minimum. So there's, under the Economic Development Commission, there's 7 voting members. So 3 equals a negative quorum. That means that theoretically 3 members could block any action from occurring. And under the minimum, it's how many could meet without a notice based on quorum or voting requirements. And I think there's where, if you mentioned the 2, 2 would be also in violation. So and I wish the village attorney was here to explain this a little bit more fully. But that's his recommendation, that you can't have 2 people from the commission getting together and talking about issues that are on an agenda or potentially before the commission without noticing that to the public.
I'm sorry, Steve, did you say 2 or 3?
3 would be a negative quorum, 2, but still, you can't have even 2 members getting together and discussing items that are on the agenda or could potentially be on the agenda for the commission.
So just to help me with sort of as layman version of this as we can, if I ran into Chairman Miller at the grocery store
Mhm.
in the parking lot, and if one of us brings up, hey, what did you think about that topic the other night? Are you saying that we're not supposed to do that? I just want to make sure we're following. I understand the rules.
That is correct.
It is, okay.
Technically, that would be in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, interesting.
That as members of the commission, you can't discuss items that are before the commission or potentially before the commission without having public notice made.
This commission.
This commission.
Okay.
But let's say the same example, but the conversation is, we just had this meeting and it's been talked about and it was voted on. And so there's nothing else to do.
If it's something that has been acted on in the past,
Yes,
then I believe that would be
it's public
okay to
record.
discuss. Well, and even, I mean, all of it is public record. But if there's no additional action that could be necessary,
Right.
that could be needed. If there's nothing, if it's something in the past and there's no further action that's necessary, that is something that you could discuss. You could
Oh.
have a conversation about. But I mean, the general rule of thumb is, for elected officials, is that, and for people who are appointed to boards or committees like this, is that generally you're not allowed to discuss things with each other that are before you and on the agenda, that those conversations should take place in a public setting. And I don't, Matt, if you can scroll up to the top, just as an example, you can take a look at the village board there, because the village board is a larger body. 2 individuals can have a conversation without as much of a concern. But I think that's the only body within the village where that's the case.
So to be safe, the only time we can discuss Economic Development Commission matters or business is in one of these formally recognized meetings. Is that
Correct.
the general rule?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you can exchange information or interact with staff. That is allowed because we're not voting members of this, but you're not allowed to have those conversations with each other. And I think when it comes to the issue of the database or like a shared drive or something like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a spoken or vocal meeting. Just sharing information in or documents in a setting like that could be construed as a meeting.
okay.
Even if you blind copy?
Yeah, even if now staff can blind copy and we do that to prevent issues with quorums. So like when I send out a weekly update to trustees and I go through issues that are going on, I blind copy that just so that if a trustee responds, they don't accidentally or inadvertently respond to the entire group. Because that would be considered if it was something related to an item that was on an agenda, that would be a violation of the open meetings law.
Okay.
So if a trustee sends something out, or if one of you sends something out related to this committee, it doesn't matter if you blind copy it. If you, for example, were to send an email to the rest of the committee, even if you blind copy, because you are on the committee.
That would be the
still-
problem.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Well, I think last meeting we decided to send everything through Maddie or Casey or whomever.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
that's the safest way to do it. And like I said, staff can turn around and we can send information out. We can send documents out and distribute those. But you're not allowed to have that conversation, exchange of information with each other outside of open meetings.
okay, thank you.
So even, so I'm just thinking, what I was envisioning when I said database or was an area just to put information that was already received, talked about, and it's just stagnant instead of trying to fish through all of the meetings.
That would be something that we could do. We could create
Oh,
a place where you all could access information.
right.
In fact, we could probably, especially if it is already information that's been discussed in meetings,
Mhm.
we could put it on the website so it's available to the general public. That would be another way just to make sure that we're not violating any rules. But as long as you're not modifying the documents, like if you have a draft, document that's strategy for filling empty store spaces on County Line Road. You can have that document on a place where all of you can access it. What you can't do is have it available where each of you are making edits and then trying to come up with a document that you all agree on. That's what would be the violation of the open meeting.
Okay. So if it's a stagnant PDF
Yeah.
and we've discussed it and it's just out there for information
Well, I would suggest that we still do the same thing and that we send everything to
to,
the clerk's office because everything that we do is for the village. And
Right.
so it should be a matter of public record and they can organize it. If we need to get to it, we can, if there's something there that needs to be got to, we can figure that out when we get to that. But I can't think of anything right now that we would need to do that with yet.
Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the minutes are already available. I think that's what we may need to reference. At this point, I can't think of anything other than that, but it sounds like we have the capability to potentially add another document if needed.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Patty? Good. All right. So that's our discussion. Let's move on to new business then. And I'd like to, business item A, Germantown marketing campaign videos, formally Celebrate Germantown. And I'd like to invite communications coordinator for Park and Rec, Brenton Schimpf, up for the presentation. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. First question for you guys would be, do you want presentation first about kind of the overall concept, or would you like to watch the video first? Any preference?
Commissioners? Have a preference?
Video.
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 All right, sounds good. So let me
Play
get
the video.
plugged in and we'll get it on and back
Cue it.
and then we'll get
Okay.
it ready to go.
Cue it up. Thank you. Maybe if we're good.
See where this goes. All right, so this video is of Appleworks Winery that I was asked by Village President Soderberg to create. So here we go. All right. So that is the short social media video concept that we're looking at here.
How
So
many seconds was that?
it was a
appro-
total, I believe, of 37 seconds. So it was a little bit longer than most likely will be for a social media type video campaign. So you're going to average around 15 to 30 seconds for most videos here. Okay, so I'll get into kind of the presentation here first. And then if you have any questions, just feel free to interrupt me at any time here. So basically just a little bit of context real quick is I was asked by the village president to create that video for Appleworks Winery, highlighting it kind of as a test case of saying, what could we do for creating social media videos? So I went to Appleworks, created the video there. I was then asked by Trustee Miller then to create a presentation that kind of explains what other communities are doing, ask some key questions for a social media campaign, type of questions that may help you kind of decide where you want to go with this, hopefully direct you of what you want to create here essentially. So the first question would be, there started out as Celebrate Germantown. So the first question is, what do you want the name of the project to be? And I believe at your last meeting, you had talked about specifically coming in with different name ideas and different things like that. So ultimately, you would need to decide that. Next thing would be, what is the end goal of the project? Do you ultimately, what are you trying to do through this? I think there's been maybe a little bit of communication conflict with that of saying, do you want it going back to a website? Are you specifically trying to promote a specific social media page, platform, or are you trying to do both? What is the ultimate decision for this? Would it be something that's between economic development and tourism, or is it specifically just tourism doing this, just economic development? How would you want to structure a project like this? How many platforms would you want to run on, such as you doing Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube? How far do you want to take this? Will the project run on its own social media pages? Or are you simply putting these videos on the village's social media? And then I have this question on here, is it fully organic, not ad content, or is it paid content, meaning it's an ad content? So that ultimately is, are you willing to spend money on the project? If you make it an ad, it does change the type of music and such you can do. So that is kind of important for knowing if you're going to promote it as an ad or if you're just simply going to post everything and just try to build an organic following of the project. And then obviously at the project funding. So some comments about doing a social media type campaign with videos. If you create your own social media accounts, that would require you to have an upkeep and pretty strict following of a specific content strategy. If you really do want to be successful with this, I would highly recommend having a specific plan in mind. Everything I have done with social media does require a specific strategy. You don't want to have just one video you post and then not have a full plan in place. And I'll go into a little bit of some ideas for planning that might get the conversation started if this is something you want to move forward with. Recommend not posting any videos until the plan is established. Part of that is if I only have one video at this point and I post it on a channel, it's not going to go very far compared to if I have a posting schedule for 5 to 10, for example. And then if it's only using organic, meaning it's not ad content, you would need to add more context and oversight of the platforms for you to gain followers. So this is some steps kind of in order here that might kind of help. Ultimately, my recommendation, if I was doing this, this may not be what you decide to do. This is what I would do if I were in your shoes, essentially. First thing I would do is I would say the project's a campaign and I create a branding package. That would include the colors, logo, design elements. First step would be obviously knowing what you're calling this project. Next thing, you'd want to create a communication strategy. You'd identify your target audience. You may do a SWOT analysis, campaign goals, social media platform. An example of this is for Music at the Pavilion each year. I go in and I write this. So I make sure I have this very structured so that I know specifically what we're doing. That really helps us be able to talk to our audience directly. And if we have a sponsor reach out that's like, hey, what about this? And it's like, well, our plan is this. And I can specifically tell them what we are planning to do. And normally they'll be like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. So an example with this is if you post AppleWorks, you have another business go, hey, why don't you sponsor me? Be like, hey, we're getting to you in X amount of time, rather than being, oh, good idea. Let's think about it. Next thing I would do is probably make it a joint project between economic development and tourism. Then both groups can contribute and you can create a funding source for this. Make the proper connections within the village that will work to promote the project by resharing the videos on pages. An example of this would be, do you have the contact with the library, contacts with Park and
Chamber.
Rec, the chamber, different places that can really say, oh, we're doing this thing, we're launching it, everybody's on board and everybody knows what this is. So somebody's like, hey, what is that going on over there? So everybody knows what's going on and is on the same page. And I would prepare 5 to 10 videos before starting to launch the full social media campaign. So I listed here just for reference, just some things that I just came up with on the top of my head for possible videos that you could do. Different ideas here. Some of these were already discussed with the village president, but just some thoughts that may be involving specifically economic development, others that may involve tourism. kind of all over the place there, but there are a lot of things you can highlight within Germantown. Would you like me to move on, or is anybody got any questions at this point?
I have several questions.
Okay.
So in the, so describe what kind of, what you do already
Sure.
for, and that will give us an idea of how much time you put into it and things like that.
For this project
For,
specifically?
no, for in your normal job.
Normal job? Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So for Music at the Pavilion, what I do, so I work as a communications coordinator for the Park and Rec Department.
Mhm.
So what I do is I do write a marketing strategy each year for the Park and Rec. That doesn't just involve social media. That involves how are we emailing people, involves lots of different things. So not specifically just this, more narrowed down. This would be more narrowed down, I should say. So when we get to specifically talking about social media, what you're looking to do is create a specific plan for how you're communicating.
Mhm.
When you do that, you're specifically writing how you're going to launch this campaign. That is what I do every year for Music at the Pavilion, and I have that as a small part of what we do for the Park and Rec Department. So I write a page where I explain what my strategy is on Instagram. I'll write a page where I'll explain what our strategy is on Facebook. And we go through all those different things so we know what type of content works, what actually reaches our audience, and what people are looking for. And that really gets us kind of going, and then we're able to ultimately boost our numbers without really having to spend much money or any money really on advertising. Does that kind of answer the
Yeah,
question?
it does.
Okay.
That's helpful. Go ahead.
Just to dig a little bit deeper, are you a full-time employee of the village or what's your role at the village?
Yep, communications coordinator for the Park and Rec Department.
Okay, so you're not like
I-
a contract
Nope.
employee just for the Park and Rec Department?
No, I work for the Park and Rec Department, and then I was asked by the village president to work on this project outside of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you do most of the meetings.
Yeah, and I
Video
do
and
the
stuff,
meeting
yeah.
recordings, yeah.
He's the behind the scenes AV guy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I should have given a little more context about myself here, sorry. Just kind of went to the ground running there.
And so you're not spending any money on advertising. It's all organic.
When it comes to Park and Rec, I've spent very, very minimal. When I get to Music at the Pavilion, I am spending social media money.
Oh, then you are. Okay.
Yep, that's specifically running ads that are specifically targeted within specific areas.
Yep.
Because then you're looking to get people to come to a specific event.
Mhm.
So the goal is to try to get as much as you can organically built, and then using the things off of that to build your campaign essentially that you're building for using ad dollars.
Okay. And then what is your budget for that specific campaign?
For Music at the Pavilion?
Yeah.
For that, it varies each year. For overall, for marketing, and that included more than social media, included kind of the full scope of newspaper, how far did we want to go? I think it was at about, for social media specifically, I think it was 600.
Okay.
For everything, I think it was at 1,000, which included newspaper ads and such.
Okay.
So that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, you're not looking at,
$1,000 for the whole year?
I was for the full summer season.
December, okay.
And that's specifically
Seems
a
cheap.
very specific audience that you're targeting for that too. And we're working with limited dollars. That's why it's super important to build out that campaign. So it's a lot more time spent on it. So if you go more the not paid route, you're spending a lot more time creating different things that are trying to be interesting, engaging, trying to build an audience. If you're going all paid, I wouldn't recommend anyone really go all paid, because organic is really where you need to start building an audience.
So one of the things that you mentioned was sometimes you send it out by email. Does that mean that you have a database?
For Park
So-
and Rec,
Right.
Park and Rec has its own email database, correct?
Is that separate from the, like, village or?
Correct.
Oh,
It's in their registration system.
right. And I suppose the library has their own as
Yep.
well,
Yeah, most likely.
most likely.
They do.
And the chamber does too.
Yep.
So there's
Their
3,
members, yeah.
yeah, for chamber members.
Mm.
s- So there's at least 3 different email databases out there.
Yeah, most likely.
So you mentioned that you thought collaborating with tourism would be a great idea, and that President Soderberg mentioned that too, as far as funding. We could get our funds from tourism.
Yeah, that was something that was mentioned by President Soderberg about being able to, how do you fund a project like this? And I'll get into a little context of some things other communities do.
Okay.
Discovered with the helps of the clerk's office where some of the funding for one of the other municipalities project comes from.
Okay.
So that was helpful. But ultimately, tourism, in my opinion, would probably be the best place, but ultimately it's your decision. That's just be going based on what I've been told,
Right.
essentially.
Yep. Thank you.
So,
Yep.
so if we were to focus on just social media to start, because that seems like it would be the simplest and not worry about email right now. How many actual accounts are there with the different departments? I know there's a police and a fire. I mean, we would not necessarily put Apple Works on those.
Mhm.
But you know, there's you said the library and Park and Rec. Does everybody does everyone have a Facebook page in all the departments?
Yeah,
or-
within the village, you have the main Facebook page for the village. You have Park and Rec, you have library, you have police, and then you have fire. I'm missing any?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Those are all on Facebook, I believe on Instagram. Well, also Archie's quite popular on,
yeah.
Archie the therapy dog is quite popular on social media too. So
What is?
Archie
Archie.
Archie the
Archie, oh,
therapy
yeah,
dog.
Archie.
Yeah, he's quite popular. So you have that in Instagram. I believe it's relatively somewhat active, somewhat inactive. You can correct me if I'm wrong for the village one.
We haven't done much on Instagram.
Yeah, so not much there. Park and Rec, we're very active on Instagram. We're building that out. Library, I'd say active also. I'm not aware of police and fire on Instagram. I don't believe they have anything, as far as I am aware.
Okay, so in your mind's eye, to be different from both library and what you do you have any advice for how to frame the intent of these videos? And, you know, you've given us a lot of good information and some technical guidance about how to go about building a plan, which is great, thank you.
Mhm.
But as you were doing this, what were you thinking would be, so that we don't know exactly, I'm not on Facebook.
Sure.
I'm not on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is put out by Park or the library.
Sure. So what might actually be helpful to kind of distinguish the plans is kind of what I'll go into next, which is what other municipalities do. That might kind of help to kind of distinguish specifically what everybody's doing for projects that are similar to this. For Park and Rec, we're specifically highlighting things that are happening within our programming, promoting our programming, trying to engage the community with our events, with different things that are happening. One thing that happened recently, we had a student who was with the Scouts who did a project of putting in an EAD machine at Fireman's Park. So that's something we could highlight. So we took a picture of them, did an interview, got that information posted. Those are the kind of things we want to post that are specifically related to our parks, our programming, or events. So that's how it would be different. This I specifically think is you're more looking at almost a tourism type economic development / economic development type campaign. So you're specifically talking about what you are doing and celebrating things that are happening within the community on a more large scale basis. I can kind of show you, I think next is, yeah, some examples from other communities if we're okay going into that. So one would be Discover Wauwatosa would be an example. So they have Facebook, they have an inactive YouTube page, they have a Pinterest, and that's also inactive, and then they have an Instagram. So they're on quite a few platforms, but primarily they're focusing on Facebook and Instagram. So they have a great brand template. I think it looks good. Their goal ultimately is to link back to their tourism website. So their website specifically is very aimed at what's going on in the community, what new businesses are here, what new things are happening, and they're specifically focused on events and drawing people into the community. And this is the one that I spoke with Maddie, that you found out that this is specifically funded through tourism. And then for all their content, they're going through an alternate contractor. So they're getting a contractor that tourism is paying essentially to do the work. Did I say that right? Okay. So some of their examples of like what they do on Facebook, they're a mixture of local promotion. They're doing videos and photos. On Instagram, they're doing good, simple, short form vertical video that's highlighting businesses and local happenings. Their Instagram is very similar to the type of video that I just showed. It's extremely similar, same look, same feel. They're going into a business. They're talking to the business owner. They're walking around going, look, I just walked in here. Look how cool this place is, and trying to drive traffic to their community. I give the rating is basically a 10 out of 10. I think they're doing a really good job of what they're doing over there. So I have two more examples. So another one would be like Visit Brookfield. I think it's a very passable brand template. Their goal is to link back to tourism websites. So they got Facebook and Instagram, so very, very, standard there. Again, their Facebook is the mixture of the local promotion, photos and videos, good, simple, short form vertical video that's highlighting their businesses and local happenings. Same exact thing. I just ranked the rating a little bit down. Seems like they had a few things that on Instagram that, I don't know, a little more posting of images and stuff than I'd like, but yeah, also a very, very good example. Another one, this is a kind of a lower, another example that's way less complicated. So Explore Menominee Falls would be another one. This is just a website essentially that's based off of their main website. So they've got their main website, and then off of it, they have their linking back to their main social media account. The brand template is their village logo. Everything's posted on the village website. There's no official video or social media campaign for Explore Menominee Falls, but they have it on their website essentially. But then the videos that they do share are coming from their source, which is their Falls Cable Access Productions. So when they post a video, they're posting it on the main social media account for the village, and they're doing that through Falls Cable Access. So here would be my opinion on what an ideal situation would look like. Take it or leave it. The first thing would be identify kind of what you're doing. Would it be a funding source? What's the name? Figure that all out. Create the brand with the logo. There's an example that you kind of already had seen when it was Celebrate Germantown, just as a basic template view. Next would be creating that communication strategy, deciding what your target audience is. You can get more into the details of that as you get going. Make connections then to promote the page. That's just talking to the chamber, other places. Hey, we're doing this. This is the plan. Film the videos, decide where you're filming the videos and go film them. And then create the social media platforms. run your campaign, and then have somebody to manage it, and then make a website or other source to direct the traffic. If you're just creating a social media page, that's great. That might be exactly where you need to start. However, if you're not directing them back to a specific place, that could get a little tricky. If you're directing them just to, another thought would be you could direct them just to a page on the website where that has specific links to different things saying, this is what we're doing, this is the project we're trying to get off the ground. That could be another idea. Just a thought that might be able to help you out.
Does tourism have anything, any website or anything at the moment, or is the chamber the closest thing to it?
I think the chamber is the closest thing to it. Is that correct?
Okay. So,
Is the Menominee Falls example, is that Explore Menominee Falls?
Yeah.
Is that related to the downtown bid district as well?
As far as I could tell, it's not.
It's separate from that?
As far as I could tell, yeah. From
Okay.
what you thought too. Yeah. Yeah, the downtown district is kind of its own thing, and they've kind of taken over as that tourism development type hub. That's really
And
been
do
their
they,
role.
does that bid district, do they handle the concerts in their park and things like that? Or is that Park and Rec in Menominee Falls, do you know?
From what I know, it is that downtown district with different groups also getting involved with it. I don't believe it has anything to do with their park and rec.
See, in my opinion, I think it's not, we shouldn't have like a tourism group, and we shouldn't have the chamber group, and we shouldn't have economic development group, and we shouldn't have libraries, and we shouldn't have Park and Rec. We should have one social media campaign and strategy for the whole village that everybody participates in, right? Otherwise, you've got all these competing ideas and there's no cohesive branding going on for the village. It's just all, everybody's doing their own thing. And if there's a way that we can pool resources from all those different groups and do it right, you know, collectively, to me, that makes the most sense.
From my experience, I'd agree with you in part based on the fact of saying you want a cohesive strategy for all things that are specifically the village.
Mhm.
The part where I may differ is police does need to have their own social media accounts. Fire would need to have their own social media accounts. Park and Rec would need to have their own, library would need to have their own still. I'd still say even the village would have to have their own because they're each communicating very specifically different things that are very important to those specific audiences. When you lump too many together, you'd have about 50 posts a day.
But you could have some cohesive branding for all of those different sites.
You could have
Like
cohesive
the library
branding
doesn't
for all
need its
those
own
different
brand,
sites.
for instance.
However, I think Hartford recently did this. They're looking at a huge rebranding project when they did it. And I believe, I'm not sure if you know the details of that, Steve. I did see that it was a specific company that came in and did all of their rebranding. That's a lot of money. You're talking about everything on the side of a truck, every website, making sure everybody's on the same page. It was massive, massive project. So
it's not to say that we can't have that, because I agree with you that we have something to work towards, but
Mhm.
we're starting with this little piece here, which is social media or whatever we
And-
decide to do.
And if I can real quick, if you guys don't mind, what I'll do here real quick is when you look at the like discover, where's my mouse? Tricky. So when you look at like discover Wauwatosa, for example, that's a specific brand that has a specific goal that's trying to get you back to their website. I'm gonna bet that if I look up Wauwatosa. City of Wauwatosa, I'm betting their branding on their website completely different. Yeah. completely and fully different because it's not specifically the same thing.
But they have Discover over there on the left underneath the main.
Yep, so that's gonna lead you
So
to, I'm guessing,
thi-
that website.
This
Let's
to
see.
me is kind of makes sense.
Let's see here. Oh, that might just be one of their terms, I'm not sure.
Well, it is kind of similarly branded, right? Because isn't it the Firefly, the sort of their branding thing?
Mhm.
And like you can see the
Similar,
little
yeah.
Firefly
Similar, but not,
subtle, but.
not exactly the same. So when you
Yeah,
look
it's
at
a little
Discover.
too subtle, but it's at least coordinated.
Right.
When you go on Discover Wauwatosa, they have their own strategy with their own colors and everything on their specific website. So they're talking about what are things to do, where's the art, what are the upcoming events, different districts in town, and then their specific social media. They really don't have anything that links back to
But you've got that Firefly. I assume that's what that
Yeah.
is.
the Fireflies, yeah, most likely. Yep. So that's one element that they're trying to put together, yeah.
So what's the frequency of releasing new content and or for getting started with this? If we were to just focus on the social media part first and we do the 5 to 10 videos, is it like you put it all out there or you do one and then you introduce the next one and it's a week later, a month later or whatever?
Yeah, it depends on the platform.
Okay.
Specific that you're on, depends on your audience, because you're looking specifically of when they're active and such. You're gonna want to have at least a base of 5 for starts, and then you're gonna want to go from there with a consistent schedule of saying, how many times am I posting a week? Are we gonna post 2 times a week, 1 time a week? And then if you stay with that consistency, that's probably your best bet. Again, a lot of things have keep changing with different platforms on social media too. So it is going to be somewhat tricky for you to be able to start off with 2, 3 videos and then just, kind of hope for the best. You ultimately want to start saying, okay, I have a base of content. I know how often I'm posting and we're going to stick with that. And then we're going to see how that does. And then we're going to evaluate and try more things. That's probably the best case scenario for how you do something like this.
And would you recommend doing some paid ad campaigns in there as well? Like on Facebook or
Like adding ads, you mean?
like paid advertisements?
Oh yeah, I'd
versus-
link a few for starting out.
Mhm.
I would build out some paid advertisements.
Okay,
Because you're ultimately trying to have people find you.
right.
And one of those things too, organically, you can grow by saying, hey, look, hey, Chamber, can you share a video? Hey, can you share this? Can you, Village, can you introduce it? Parks and Rec, can you say, hey, this thing is happening? The more traffic you'll get to, the more places you incorporate. So you might say, so you have AppleWorks for this one. You go to AppleWorks and they share it. Okay, now we might have got some of their audience. We go to Old Germantown. Now we might have gotten some of their audience. And then you want to build the retention of that audience so that they're still engaged with your content, even if you're not focusing on that one specific restaurant, place that they really like. They're still engaging with the content, thinking it's interesting.
So once you put one of these, let's say we have 5 different videos
Mm.
and you start with one, and when you introduce it to other entities, I mean, when you introduce it, how many times is it played, or do you just send it out once and hope for the best? I don't understand what's the multiplier effect?
So I think there's kind of multiple questions in there. So basically with social media, how it works depends on the platform again. If we're talking primarily Instagram or Facebook, you're sending out the video, you're posting it on your page as a post. So let's just talk about one video for starters. You post the video, I put it up there. My followers can view it. Doesn't mean they will.
Oh, right.
Becoming more and more rare for the, the amount of people to see it. What your goal is then is trying to get other pages to share it so that you're increasing your views. You're not posting it multiple times on your page.
Okay,
So you're posting it,
it's the clicks.
you're posting it once.
Yep.
You're either doing it paid or not paid, and then you're trying to get other people to share it or view it, essentially. Yeah.
So we want to, I would think we'd want to link it back to the Village of Germantown website. Is that right? Would that,
You could, however, even with Explore Menominee Falls, they
They
have a
don't.
specific page
oh,
that is about that. I guess one of the simplest things you could do once you create the social media pages is have a specific page on the village website that explains this is a joint effort of this. Here's the links to the social media pages. Here's the links to resources. You just kind of put those below and you make that specific page branded specifically to the project on the village website, which is basically what Menominee Falls does.
right.
However, you're going a little bit of a step extra because you're actually creating the content rather than just having the website available. You're having a limited website available saying, hey, we want to branch this out in the future. We want to create something eventually, but we're doing it through the avenue of building a following on the social platforms. So that might be one of the easier things you could do. That might actually be a good way to get started.
Like Menominee Falls, just have a separate tab.
Yes, yeah, sort of like Menominee Falls, having a separate tab that's branded specifically, but you're doing the extra effort so that the social pages link to your social pages for the project, not just the village's social media.
Right.
And going back to your original question, what is this for? What are we trying to achieve with this?
Yeah, and then I wrote that question on there mainly because you'd want to have that goal in mind with doing it. I was tasked with it because I was told, hey, can you do this? Can you film the video? Can you make the presentation? Well, yeah, I can do that. I know this, so I can present that. It's more of is your end goal trying to get views to a website, or are you just trying to build your social media following? And if you're just trying to build a social media following, is that enough of a benefit in itself that you're highlighting the local restaurants, parks, businesses?
Events.
Is that an event? Is that enough in itself, or are you wanting to build something bigger than that? Something where it's like the Discover Wauwatosa tourism page, where it has easy access to events coming up, easy access to list of all the restaurants, list of all the hotels, list of all the new businesses or whatever, something like that. Upcoming development, things like that.
Yeah, it's good to have goals.
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Is the village, see, I use that generically because it's going to come down to staff and board members. Is the village willing to explore bringing in an actual branding and marketing consultant to help guide the village as to what we want this program to be? I think your ideas are great, but though yours are more like execution of a plan that we don't already have, right? We need someone to come in that has that expertise to say, here's what the goal of the plan should be. And here's how we kind of wrap it all together and brand it and make it uniquely Germantown. And then you kind of come up with a plan like what you're talking about. I like the ideas that you've got. But then you're promoting Germantown. You're either promoting and you're informing, right? Promoting Germantown, you're informing residents, you're telling people about the benefits of Germantown. But I still think you need that nucleus to begin with. And sometimes you have to pay for that. And I don't know if the village is willing to spend money to do that or not.
Well, I think that the extension services of the UW system have, what's his name? The guy from the Germantown leadership, he colors thing.
Oh, Paul
Paul-
Roebuck.
Yeah, he does things like that. I know there are people associated with the university systems that will do it, not like a big corporation from downtown.
Right.
They won't be the same price by any means.
Not-
That might be worth looking into.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't answer any of those questions for you, obviously, but I guess I would think from my education, they're going to ask you some of the similar questions
Sure.
because they're going to want to know specifically that, and they're going to come up with the brand template and the communication template. They're going to get it all ready for you, charge you a lot, and then tell you, all right, here's your plan. You ready to go for it? And if you don't give them enough direction for starters and you don't like something in it, you're going to pay more to get it out, essentially.
Right.
So
Change order.
yeah, from my experience with what you'd get from an agency or something, that's what you're gonna end
Your
up doing.
pay.
Yeah, and it might be the direction you want to go, but in that instance, that's kind of what you're looking at. They'll ask you some very similar questions, and they're gonna go through a very similar process.
So instead of going the agency route, I know that can be quite expensive and add up. A couple questions. So did President Soderberg ask you for assistance on any other videos, or was it kind of just like this one as a start?
He said to do this one as a test case.
Okay.
Yep.
So going forward, if like we have your assistance, that's great. If you're not able to, are we able to like hire some sort of intern, especially starting like in January when school picks back up? Is that an option that we have?
I think that my conversation with President Soderberg was that we would be able to get funding through the tourism committee. We did not talk about any specific amount. So,
Well, it's the amount, but it's also the person that's going to do the work, because I feel like it is,
yes,
it's a full-time job if you want it to be successful. The other option that I was thinking of is I follow them on social media. Maybe you've heard of them, the Wisconsin Explorer. They're in Menominee Falls. I believe they're working with Port Washington right now, but I know that they work with a lot of local communities and throughout the state, and they might be able to offer some assistance as well. The Wisconsin Explorer. So I could reach out to them and see like what they offer.
They're also, I've looked at some of their pricing and stuff.
Oh, have you?
Mm-hmm. You're also very high.
Is it?
Oh.
Okay.
so it's like an agency.
It's an influencer
Mhm.
that is going around to municipalities or organizations and producing content because they already have a following
Sure.
and they're posting on their page.
Understood.
And do you think that would be the right, do you think, money aside, would that be the right path, or would establishing it ourselves with our own page be a better path?
Personally, I would rather you go down a path that you want to go down rather than piggybacking on someone else's audience that they may live in Port Washington. That's not really going to be helpful. It may be more helpful for you to say, hey, we're developing this within the community, by the community, and then they're putting the work into it. Because those are the people you're ultimately going to get to follow you first. Those are the people that are going to be the most interested. And then you'll eventually start spreading out of, oh, we got a follower from the Falls. They're interested in this. From my experience with even just promoting music at the pavilion, that's what you're looking at. It's specifically saying it's the people within the community that come to support this because they really like this, and then they're branching out.
Any other thoughts?
What's the track record been like with the pavilion work that you've done? In terms of followers, growth, things
Yeah.
like that? What are your measures of success there?
Yeah, so it continues to grow every year. The more we see, if we're at 600 on Instagram, Facebook, we're at, I think, almost 3,000. So we're building
300, you said?
3,000.
3,000.
And so we're building that up and it continues to grow every year. So the more you get people to be interested in your page without spending tons of money on it, you're able to really slowly say, hey, we're building something here, and people slowly keep building interest. Depends on what your performers you have too, for that specifically. So this, you don't have any performers or anything that's like a big attraction. So you're specifically relying on that local traffic from, they did Old Germantown, I'm gonna follow them. They did Appleworks Winery, I'm gonna follow them.
So how do we know once they view it and then they start following somebody else? Is that a measurement? Is that a metric? Is that something we know?
If they start following us,
If they follow us and then the follower goes to the location, like Appleworks,
so if you're
do we
putting like,
follow? I mean, do we know? Do we get a click or a metric of any kind?
if you're putting links on things, you can
Oh,
tell. So Facebook post, you can check how many people are clicking on the post.
okay.
So if it could be them clicking on the link, it could be them clicking on the photo, it could be them clicking on the video.
Right.
But yeah, you can track that. Instagram for link clicks, it doesn't work the same way. Because you're going through a different, you have to link it aside. You can't do it on the post itself.
Well, I need time to think about this.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, but thank you. This has been great.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it was helpful, kind of
How long did it take to actually make that video?
the video,
Mm-hmm.
hour and a half.
Right.
Okay. With editing and everything?
Yeah, so the making of it was like being at the location. I was there for 45 minutes-ish. And then editing was about an hour and a half. That's it.
Okay.
It's not horrible.
Well, and again, it depends on how many videos are you wanting to post. Are you wanting to do one a week? For a slow start to it? Are you wanting to do, 4 a week? And that's a lot more work, You might run out of content ideas pretty quick too. So you might go slower, but completely up to you.
Okay. Well, any other questions or thoughts?
Well, I
Do-
think we need to think about who the audience is.
Right?
We need to think about what the intent
Intent.
is.
Mhm.
And if we can start thinking about those things, some of the other bits and pieces should fall into place.
All right.
We want it to be of value too.
We're gonna put effort into it.
Yes.
Yes. Great. Well, thank you so much. That was very, got an education on Facebook. And do we want to follow up on just to get some sort of information like you
Talking about from Wisconsin Explorer. Do you want to do that or would you like to decide
Yeah,
That
let's
direction,
figure out
the
the
direction?
target market,
Right.
the purpose, and then we can go from there.
Okay,
Because I'm sure that would be one of their questions potentially too.
right. So would you like to bring this back next week? I mean, next month?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So we'll work on that collectively. And I'll make sure the other commissioners get to view this video. Appreciate it very much. So could you make a note? We'll bring this back. Thank you. All right. We'll go to item B, business loan pool. We did have the seminar on 10/30/2025, and we have a debrief and next steps with discussion. Melanie, would you like to
Can you go to
bring
the
it up on
last
the?
item on the agenda packet, please?
Thank you.
I think it's the last one.
Yeah, it's the last
Okay.
attachment.
I just made some notes. I went to the seminar.
Yep.
It's as a business owner, myself, and just listening to the presentation from Sherry again, I don't think there's any need for the village to see financial information. The bank does a full review of the businesses. I think the intent of the village presenting the business owner is it's a referral. If the bank and the business works out a loan agreement, great. You know, it's so that was one of my takeaways if I was sitting in that seat. Second thing is, let's see, Joe Latta is working on some testimonials for the former grantees of the loan program, which is good. They have one at the moment.
And it is posted on the on our website, by the way.
And it could be something that I don't know what they receive other than the loan.
But if there's a sort of like your beer stein approach, Kristen, if there was a certificate or something that said a participant and they can have it as, it's very inexpensive to do, come up with something like that. That could be on the wall of the business. Joletta has really been moving this along with Sherry, and I just thought
We could acknowledge that, and perhaps the president could do a relaunch of this because it has been just sort of lying fallow. I was surprised when it came up last year. Was it last year? When George Hero was here asking for,
Or the
never even-
spring.
was it the spring? I never even
I can't-
knew it existed until that happened. I was thinking, wow. So, that's a way of possibly relaunching, bringing attention to it, and possibly putting something in the Express News
Okay.
from the president saying, here, we're here, you know, this is the new and improved. Cherie and Joletta were going to talk to the administrator and finance director about tweaking some things on the application. I don't know if that happened.
Not yet.
Let's see. And then moving forward with it, there could be, and maybe this is tied to what we were just talking about as well, a list of opt-in resources of local Germantown businesses who could assist new businesses who might be interested in coming here, or people who are already here who want to go into business. And they could just be a resource. We're not necessarily vetting them, but they are a list of local businesses. Maybe it's the chamber, but not everyone's on the chamber and a member of the chamber. There are realtors, there are designers, there are contractors, there are sign companies, there's PR firms, there's all sorts of people who could potentially help some of these small businesses. So that was just another idea that popped into my head. The vetting is not ours to do. It would be if someone has a bad experience with them, then they come off the list. So it's up to them to work things out well. That everyone may not agree with that. I was thinking the seminar should be held twice a year.
Mhm.
Once by the village, this group, sponsored by this group, and then once at the chamber, because it's mutually beneficial. And, oh, there's the thing about the letter, so. Those were my notes from the meeting. There were 4 people, 4 applicants. They were all interested in moving forward with it. And one person lives in Germantown. No, lives in a neighboring village, but wanted to set up business here. And one of the things that I noticed on the application that's on the website, the map's not right. Isn't it the whole village now?
It is the whole village now.
The application I saw that's linked is just the district, the village district.
So it hasn't been updated.
And you guys changed that recently, I think.
Was the beginning of this year or
Yeah.
last
So
year?
that needs to be changed.
Okay, so.
And then we need to, I don't know if it says anywhere in there, if someone wants to bring a business to Germantown, if that's, and they set up a physical address here. Did you guys cover that?
The business has to be in Germantown.
What if they want to come to Germantown and they can get the loan to help do a remodel of a space that they want to have in
Right.
one of the storefronts or some of the empty retail that's already here? Is that something that they could do? I'm sure the bank can,
My,
but
my interpretation, it needs to be clarified,
Okay.
but my understanding is the business needs to be in Germantown. Steve, you want to have some other information? Please.
Yeah, if it's a new business in Germantown, that qualifies as well. So one of the loans that was approved in the past for a new business, and now their name is escaping me, the virtual golf
Sticks,
was a new business and
right,
they
Okay.
were approved for a loan probably 5 years ago. So
right.
that's an example of it. But yeah, that is a new business would be eligible.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
As long as the address is within the village.
That's-
And then we do have to update the map.
Yeah. So. those are
And
my-
the application, so I understand that. So what do you envision just as this launch by the president? Could we send out like a press release or something like that from the president?
Probably.
Explaining the program and inviting, businesses.
Maybe set the dates of the months when the next seminar is coming up or something like that.
Right,
Which would have to be in conjunction with the bank, obviously, and the chamber,
right.
because they should all be in there. It's a joint thing between us.
Mm.
Maybe if one of these 4 businesses proceed, that you use that as an opportunity to promote it
Mhm.
and reintroduce it.
And that could be a video, if going back to the
Yeah.
Celebrate Germantown, you could incorporate
Could
that
be a video.
potentially.
Excellent. I think we really got interest and we're just going to have to wait and see if we get the applications.
Mm.
And I think updating the application, to your point, is really going to help. So.
Did we get any applications yet from
I-
that seminar?
We actually did get one this morning.
Oh, we did.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but he did say that he came to the seminar.
Okay.
State Farm.
I don't know.
Sorry.
No, it was,
We'll get that information and bring it to the next meeting.
well, let's wait until they
Oh, yeah.
go through the process.
Well, we got an application.
That's
That's
great.
great.
Well, cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's moving forward, but It did. It just lay dormant. So
Yeah.
it's like having this pot of money that is what economic development is about, helping businesses get started and also existing businesses that need to upgrade. There's certainly there's lots to upgrade these days. Any other, I like your idea. Would you recommend, should we get another event going in the first quarter or second quarter? What do you think?
I think you should talk to Bob
The
Soderberg
chair-
and Joletta and the
Okay.
bank.
Sherry? Okay. I'll get with them. Check their schedules. All right. Sounds good. The chamber isn't really big enough. Their meeting room isn't big enough to hold it.
Well,
So we can have it someplace else.
yeah. I mean, those are all details that
Right. I'm just, it
you might want it there. I don't know. I mean,
could be. Yeah. We'll ask. All right. So let's go to the next item on our agenda, please. Any other discussion about the seminar? And I thought it went extremely well. Our next item is about Operation Storefront. And for that, we have a handout. It should be on the dais for you. And Steve Krecklo is going to talk to us about this information.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry for the late document here. I actually just finished it up this evening before the meeting, but the commission asked for some additional information about vacant warehouse space and did some research to find out what it could find and provide. And really, I think what I found, one of the things I found is that there's not really a differentiation in the marketplace between really warehouse space and industrial space. So the way that the market breaks it out is into Class A, Class B, flex, and user-owned industrial space. Class A industrial space would be the newer buildings, the types of things that you see out in the new industrial parks. They have higher ceilings. They have thicker concrete floors that can have more weight, better lighting, better access to highway systems, more parking, that kind of thing. Class B would be more of the older types of facilities that we have that have lower ceilings, not quite as thick concrete base, so they can't handle as much weight, not as much parking, locations further away from the freeway. Flex space is, again, smaller, typically older, might also include like some office space. And then user-owned, and we have quite a bit of that in Germantown, are, privately owned structures, as opposed to those that are leased out. So the data that I have, I talked with some of our developers and was connected with an industrial real estate broker that's in the area, who has a subscription or a membership with the Commercial Association of Realtors in Wisconsin, CARW, and they get a report for the Northwest Industrial Submarket, which I don't know exactly what the boundaries of that submarket are, but it's the area northwest of Milwaukee, is what they're referring to. And the real estate broker took a look at the information and pulled out from the data that they had the numbers for Germantown. So under Class A industrial space, current inventory is about 3.8 million square feet. And it currently has a vacancy rate of about 19.9%. And the absorption rate, that's how much of that of the vacant space has been leased out so far this year, was 86,984 square feet at a average rental rate of $6.87 a square foot. Class B, which is the older space, is about 2.2 million square feet. That has a much lower vacancy rate, 0.7%, and a lower absorption rate. There's not much available, so there's not much being leased out, only about 4,300 square feet. And the rental rate there is about $6 a square foot. We have much less flex space available, about 340,000 square feet, has a vacancy rate of 9%, absorption rate 6,400 square feet, rental rate of $4.06. And then user-owned, privately owned, 4.9 million square feet, and 250,000 square feet of that came online, so year to date. So those are, you know, larger privately owned office buildings. Some of the nuances to this I listed in the dot points below. If you look at the entire Northwest industrial market, the vacancy rate is much lower. The overall vacancy rate is 4.5% as opposed to the 7.2%. One of the things that I was told is that the vacancy rate is higher in Germantown right now because that's where the new space was built. So the rest of the market has not had as much space built as we've had. And there are some additional things coming through the pipeline. There's one in particular that I'm aware of too, where there's a new company that's going through their financing process that is going to take about 120, 130,000 square feet of one of the buildings up at Holy Hill. So that'll bring the absorption rate for this year up to 200,000 square feet, which is still very low. The average for the last 6 years for Class A absorption space in Germantown has been 990,000 square feet. So we're much below average. I have some questions about why that is, and the response was from more than one organization and developer is that there's just a lot of uncertainty in the market right now, mostly between tariffs and interest rates. And people are kind of waiting for things to settle down before they sign agreements. Both the businesses that may have plans for expansion, but are on hold until they see how those two factors are resolved, as well as developers that are looking to construct. You know, one of the developers said, you know, he couldn't take a chance with interest rates being that they're being charged right now, you know, being in the 5% to 6% range, couldn't take a chance on, you know, financing a $25 or $30 million building at that rate. And then if interest rates are 4%, 18 months from now, one of their competitors builds a similar building at a 4% interest rate, and now they can't compete from a price perspective. So a lot of things have been on hold, kind of waiting for those factors to be resolved. So the total amount of Class A industrial space that's vacant right now is about 750,000 square feet, which is less than 1 year's typical absorption rate. And keeping in mind that there's about a 2-year time span between when a developer decides to start the process to when the building is complete and occupancy can take place. So from the developers that I talked to, from their perspective, along with the real estate broker, you know, it's probably when there's whatever, you know, light goes on in the market, there probably will be, you know, demand for additional real estate or industrial space to be built in Germantown, or at least in the Northwest area, whether it's in Germantown or someplace else. That there is the vacancy rates are not higher than what the brokers would typically see, based on what the absorption rates have been in the past. So that kind of summarizes what I have available. Just kind of note on this, this is something I think we could probably get and present to this body on an annual basis or a semi-annual basis. We don't have access to the real estate data. I tried to do a little bit more digging as far as how the Real Estate Association develops these reports. The best I can, it's proprietary data, and the best I can tell is they have people that pull raw data from a variety of sources and then piece it together into a marketable product that then they sell to the brokers and to the folks in the market. So happy to answer any questions.
I think we should also look at some of the reports that come out of Colliers and CBRE and the other realtor or bigger firms, because they do a lot of reporting annually and quarterly on trends. And what, to me, one of the reasons this is not being absorbed as much is because the use types have changed. People are looking for different types of buildings. And besides the market uncertainty, there's a lot of talk about not so much warehouse, and the actual owners are looking for different kinds of products for their business needs. Now, I did run into someone on Sunday at the Happy Hounds Santa event where we got our dog's picture with Santa. And there was a guy who wants 10,000 square feet. Would love to have a place in Germantown. So can you talk to that guy and see if there's he would be fine with a smaller or a less high ceiling, something in one of the industrial parks, but northeast side of the village.
That is actually, we do run into folks, so we have folks that come into Village Hall occasionally that are looking for smaller spaces like that. And that really fits into that Class B category where the vacancy rates are very low.
Or even the flex, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the flex, and there again, you can see there's just not a lot of that space available.
But there's enough.
Well, if you look, and I didn't,
For 10 to 12,000 square feet, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what's all involved with that 0.7% of vacancy. There's not a lot of square feet, maybe enough for that one person if they're able to find the right space. I think there is a demand for more of that space in Germantown. I think probably one of the best strategies for making more space like that available is to have the Class A space available. And I'll give you an example. I would be willing to bet that most, if not all, of that Class B space that's currently vacant is the old Green Bay packaging facility. So, they moved from Class B space where they had 3 separate buildings that they were operating out of in a business park and out to the new facility out on Holy Hill Road. And that opens up some space for some of the smaller businesses that are looking for less space and space at a lower rate. One of the things when I look at these numbers is there's not much of a gap between the Class B and the Class A. And again, I think that's because there's not enough capacity in the Class B. So, I think that's an area just strategically where the village could look at what are things we can do to make more Class B space available.
Well, but also work with people, what we have right now. I mean, if there's a vacancy, let's say there's a vacancy coming up within 6 months. And we don't know about it based on these numbers right now, but you could work towards something like that. Also, this particular business, if the right location came up, they would consider building. So, you know, there's lots of different conversations that could be happening.
I could sell them
Around
golf course
this.
land.
What?
I mean, what I would suggest,
What did you say?
I said I could sell them a golf course land.
Well, it
know.
is a water business, so.
you know, what we typically do when folks like that come in is if they have questions about specific sites or spaces, we'll answer them and we'll try to facilitate that. If they come in and they're, you know, just broadly looking for space, we probably refer them to one of the brokers, one of the real estate brokers.
Okay,
Yeah, because they're the ones who have all the data and the information about what sites are available they can talk to. They're the real estate experts. We're not real estate experts.
so this goes back to my comments about the loan program and having kind of an opt-in set of resources for people to just be able to get to it. Because if you're coming in from the outside, or even if you've been here and you decide, okay, it's time to do something about upping my business, you know, you may not know where to start. So I think that's one of the easier things that we could do as this group is just gather up invite businesses to opt in to a list that will help their business if someone were to help with that. And have it as a resource for everybody.
I think that's one of the things, and Gillette's not here. I think that's one of the things the Chamber of Commerce does really well too.
It does, but it's limited membership. They don't have, every business is not listed. You have to pay to be part of that. So if you're not a member, you don't get on the chambers. So that's why I think that there's a discussion that needs to happen with the chamber. Obviously, we don't want to be stepping on our toes. However, there still are opportunities for people.
So you're envisioning kind of a place on the village website where businesses can advertise their services? Is that? Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but I think that we can, yes,
Yeah.
possibly it's a directory of some sort. Categorized by activity. You know, just, it could be I don't know, we would need to talk about it with Gilletta. So
Right.
that maybe it's something that is, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything more because I haven't completely thought it through.
But
I think we should do more.
I agree. Because businesses that are here do business or need expertise from other businesses. And the Germantown is growing. And so it's more business to business. They're helping each other. And but the chamber has a membership. So you only have access to members, the members that are there.
And I would say if that was something the commission was interested in doing and putting together that kind of a directory, we could create a page on the village website for that. One thing you may want to think about in doing that is how you're going to maintain it from year to year and just, you know, update it, make sure that the businesses are still viable, the contact information is still accurate, that kind of thing. But that would be something if the commission would like to put that together, we could put that on the village website. I think that would be a good addition.
And I think if it was a directory, looking at different categories of dining, entertainment, shops, that could also be the Celebrate Germantown, since we don't have another word for it yet,
Right.
page where the social media is directing you to that page. So therefore, a tourist, a resident could utilize it for a different reason than a business might, but it can target both audiences and utilize one website or one page of a website.
Yeah, I think charities should be listed too.
Yeah.
What? List
Charities,
Yeah.
50C,
501c3s.
501Cs, whatever they are.
Kind of like the old yellow pages.
Right, why not?
Yes,
Yeah.
Germantown, Yellow Pages.
That'll work.
Maybe the phone company would do it. I don't know why they stopped.
I don't know, I got one a little while ago.
Did you? I
Yeah,
haven't seen
little,
one of those
a
for
little
years.
yellow. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
It's-
it could be as simple as website links.
I think
You
it-
know,
yeah.
most businesses have websites.
Maybe it was a year ago. I don't know. Yes. So, this is great information. It's kind of, but you're saying that the CARW guy, he, got the grid, the chart with all your numbers. He pulled out Germantown, and the grid is just Germantown, or is this the northwest side of Milwaukee?
I got this from uh, I got this from a broker who subscribes to the CARW
Okay,
numbers, and the broker pulled out just the Germantown data.
okay,
What about the EDWC
right.
that Scott asked about last time?
Um, you know, and they're tentatively planning to come um to your next meeting.
December 9th.
December 9th. I do have some follow-up on that, but which isn't on the agenda today, but they don't have access to that particular subscription. What EDWC, the data that they keep and that they have access to is they keep a lot of data on labor supply in particular.
Mhm.
So if a developer is coming in or M7 reaches out and says, we have a business that's looking for a location, one of the things that EDWC will do is pull together a lot of data on the labor force, the rates of pay for various types of skill sets that businesses may be looking at. You know, the unemployment rates or the availability rates, I think they call it, of workforce in certain categories that businesses are really looking at. And that's one of the key things that businesses look at when they're making locational decisions is, you know, am I going to be able to get the employees that I need for my business? And how much is it going to cost me?
But wouldn't they be concerned about the size of the facility that they would need if they want to move here?
That's where they usually work with a real estate broker on that. They'll come in and you know, if they, once they kind of define an area or areas that they're looking at, then they'll talk to a real estate broker. And a real estate broker will know, I mean, just like when you're buying a house, you know, you may decide kind of the general areas that you're looking for, but you'll, at least it's been a while since I bought a house. I think there's a lot more options online now. But you know, you'll talk with some sort of a real estate agency to look at what's for sale that I might be interested in.
Okay. We were for the Operation Storefront discussion, we also wanted to understand, do you have any information about the current?
Not tonight, but I should have some more information for you on December 9th on County Line.
The county line?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
that's-
know, a listing of those properties, and there's a little bit more manual work involved in that, just
Okay.
trying to figure things out.
So then we'll look forward to information on County Line Road um, on the 9th, on the next meeting. Any other discussion on the warehouse?
No, it's great information. Thanks
Yeah,
for pulling that
Thanks
together.
for doing.
Sure, it
that.
was interesting pulling it together, so it's good that we have it too.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
thank you very much. All right, that brings us to our next meeting date, Tuesday, December 9th, 6 o'clock. Is this still working for everyone? Okay. Tuesdays.
Yep.
What?
Those of us who are.
Well, there's those, us, the four of us. Okay, we'll put it on the calendar and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks very much for coming. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks, Maddie. This worked out great.